Hello and welcome to a new video. My name is Simone Sauter. I am a PR and AI strategist, and I help my clients to stay visible and relevant in the AI era. I do this by helping them to make their website AI readable. I get them on the best podcasts in the world, and I help them to get into large publications so that they actually engineer their digital footprint and with that get visible to AI and get recommended and cited. Now, today I want to talk with you about who do AI engines actually recommend. And I want to refer to a study that was published last week, 8th of July, 2026, and was published by SightLens and also done by SightLens. And they have basically taken 320 real buyer queries across 4 AI engines. So what this means is they have taken 320 buyer queries and they have added all of them in 4 engines and they were looking at the results. And those results are really interesting, which is why I want to share this with you today. Okay, so first of all, as I said, what they did is like they took one question and 4 engines and they got different answers. Okay, so they were looking at Google AI, at Perplexity, at Claude, and ChatGPT. Okay, those are the most relevant AI engines at the moment, the most relevant large language models, I better say. And so basically what we need to understand is that people moved away from Google, right? With Google, we had these 10 blue links and people were just looking at those links and were clicking and then doing research and finding their way through it. Now, since we have AI, people are searching within AI. And SightLens compared these sources and the results were actually really different and dramatically different actually. And as a foundational result, what they got and what is interesting for us is that there is not one single AI SEO. Okay, there is no one single way that you can get visible to all search engines, right? So there are 4 engines, at least the 4 engines that they were looking at, the large language models, and there are at least 3 different rule books, 3 different playbooks that we have to play by. Okay. Basically, that means that one tactic can make you visible in one engine, but it can leave you behind and invisible to another one. Okay. So the takeaway is here: there is no single AI SEO, right? So different engines have different ways to actually recommend experts and cite experts. Now, let's start with AI, Google AI and Perplexity, because for these models, SEO is still your entry ticket. Now, what is SEO? SEO means search engine optimization. This again means your website needs to be ranked by Google. If you rank on the first page of Google, then it is very likely that you will be cited and recommended by Google AI Mode and by Perplexity. And we can see the specific numbers. So Google AI Mode pulled 93% of its citations from Google's top 10, and Perplexity pulled 89% of their results from Google's top 10 organic results. Okay, so the citation frequency that tracked Google rank almost perfectly, we have 0.9 and 0.87 correlation. Okay, that means if Google ranks you, these engines cite you. Okay, that's bottom line what we need to remember. And this is why your website still matters. Okay, I always say you need to have a website. If you want to build a future-proof business, you need to have a website. The website needs to be clean, it needs to be well structured, it needs to be AI readable, and you have to do a couple of things with your website that is actually optimized so that you are able to rank, and you obviously also need to create content on your website. But I have other videos that talk about this specifically. So the website is really important if you want to rank and be cited and recommended in Google AI Mode and Perplexity. Now, Claude and ChatGPT used Google top 10 far less. So Claude only used 53% and ChatGPT only 30%. Okay, so the key takeaway is if your website ranks on Google, Google AI Mode and Perplexity will cite you, and your website is the entry ticket. Okay, now the next thing is Claude. Claude cites brands it already knows. Okay, so that engine cares less about your rankings and more about if you are a recognized entity. Okay, now Claude was the only search engine, the only one of all four, whose citations tracked brand search demand more than search rankings. Okay, so brand search demand is basically how many people are looking for your brand, like how visible are you online, like what is your digital footprint. And 58% of Claude citations went to sites with a Wikipedia presence, and it favors names that the web already recognizes. Okay, this is what we call entity authority. So you need to have a consistent, recognized presence across the web. Same name, same story, same expertise everywhere AI looks. I talked about this in other videos as well, right? So you need to clean up your digital footprint and you consciously need to engineer it, okay? And to become visible to AI or to Claude specifically, you need to have a website. You need to speak on podcasts. You need to be in the media. You need to have a LinkedIn profile. And ideally, you should have a Wikipedia presence, but the Wikipedia presence is like the top of everything, and it's really hard to get one. Okay, so first we want to go for the Google Knowledge Panel, which is basically when you Google your name and you have all these images above, and then like this little bio on the side. This is the Google Knowledge Panel, but this is the first step, and then the Wikipedia presence is really hard to get. But as a CEO, founder, and as an experienced business owner, you can achieve all of that, and you can become visible to all AI engines, to all large language models. Okay, so again, what you need to do is you need to be consistent with your profiles, and you need to be mentioned across the web. Okay, now this is Claude, but only 21% of ChatGPT citations were actually Wikipedia backed. So entity authority helps most with Claude, and it supports the rest. Okay, so as a key takeaway, Claude recommends recognized names, but so you need to build a consistent presence across the web so AI actually knows who you are. Okay, so now for ChatGPT, this is a little bit of a black box, okay? ChatGPT plays by its own rules. And the most used AI assistant, right, so which is ChatGPT, ignores your Google rank, your Bing rank, and also your brand size, okay? So only 30% of ChatGPT citations come from the Google top 10, okay? Which then means 70% ranked is neither Google nor Bing's top 10. And the common theory that there was that ChatGPT mirrors Bing did not hold because under 4% of its citations sat in Bing's top 10. Okay, so we have Google, we have Bing, which is owned by Microsoft, and those search engines like do not play any role or like a very minor role when it comes to ChatGPT recommendations and citations. So the correlation with rankings and brand popularity was almost zero. Okay, so it kept surfacing niche sites that rank nowhere, which is good news. Okay, so that points to preferences that are baked into the model itself, and basically the model learns from what it reads. Okay, and what does the model read? How does the model learn? How does ChatGPT learn? It reads by reading articles, interviews, podcast transcripts, and mentions. Okay, which is again why you should speak on podcasts and in the media and have a website. Okay, so basically with ChatGPT, you can't rank your way in there. You get in by being part of the content that AI learns from. And media coverage and podcast interviews are exactly that. Okay, so the key takeaway is you can't rank your way into ChatGPT. It picks from what the model reads. And this is exactly, earned media is exactly what it reads. Media, podcasts, everything that is earned. Now, your playbook is basically my visibility triangle, what I teach. Okay, so you need to have you do 3 moves, and with those 3 moves you cover all the engines. So you have your website as your foundation, right? You have your SEO, you have your structure, you have your content, you have your schema markup on there, everything that you need. Then you speak on podcasts where you build deep trust, where you create long form natural language content that AI can read and cite, which is, important for the engines that I just talked about. And then we have media, and there we need features, we need mentions, we need backlinks. And if you do this, then you get visible in all four of them, right? So there is no single tactic that can say like only if you speak only on podcasts, well, then you will not be mentioned in Perplexity or in the Google AI mode, right? Because they are looking for the rankings. This is why you have to look at the website. Okay, so and then for Claude, you need to have your digital footprint engineered. You need to have your name recognized in the web. And then for ChatGPT again, podcasts and media is what counts. Okay, so everything plays together, and if you want to be visible to AI in general, to all four engines that I mentioned here, then you should implement the visibility triangle. Okay. So the takeaway is take care of your website, be on podcasts, be in the media, and together the three cover every type of AI engine of large language model. So I hope that helps. I see you next week. Bye.